Why Give a Buck is proudly brought to you by Just Peoples, an international non-profit that directly connects givers and doers to address global poverty. Hello and welcome to Why Give a Buck. I'm Johanna de Burka.
And I'm Christy West.
Each month on Why Give a Buck, we highlight innovative individuals tackling poverty in their local communities across Africa and Asia and explore why we should give a buck.
Semerian Sankori is a Maasai woman with vivid memories of her grandmother's stories of times when nomadic Maasai pastoralists roamed freely across vast open landscapes. But the post-colonial era brought sweeping changes to Maasai people's ancient lifestyle. In today's episode, Semerian walks us through some of the painful shifts Maasai have faced over the past few decades, while also sharing how they're working to preserve their rich and vibrant cultural heritage.
Beyond these existential challenges, Maasai women face additional obstacles, such as limited access to education, early marriages, and gender-based poverty. Today, we'll also discuss with Semerian the way she's personally tackling these entrenched issues through the organisation she founded, Patanai Osim.
We're so happy to be here with you, Semerian. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome. How are you?
I'm very well. Good morning, Christy. Good morning, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you here, Semerian. Now, you are Maasai yourself. Tell us a little bit about growing up in Kajiado.
I'm a Maasai, yes, and I grew up in Kajiado County, but a small village called Isara, when the world was different from now, when the Maasai culture was still very strong. I have very fond memories of the vibrant colors that adorn the savannah. Everyone was wearing the shuka, the beautiful red shukas. I grew up at a time where education levels were very low in my community, and tradition and culture was so strong. And there was a sense of community that was so beautiful that I really miss now with all this modernization and everything. I grew in a big family of 10 siblings and living with some of my cousins who also became my brothers and sisters, with my parents who were lucky to have an education. And of course, the reason why I'm here speaking to you. Growing up in this community has taught me to be resilient, has taught me to have the heart of community, has taught me to respect culture. As much as we are fighting retrogressive culture, we have a lot of retrogressive culture like female genital mutilation, early marriages, domestic violence. We also have a lot of good culture that we are embracing, and we want to keep it alive.
Beautiful. So preserve the really beautiful good bits and the things that you remember warmly from your childhood, and then try to change some of the things that aren't so great.
And as I understand, the Maasai people are pastoralists and nomadic. Could you explain a little bit about what that means?
Yes, the Maasai people are pastoralists by nature. We were a nomadic community as well. We moved from one place to another in search of pasture. That happened before land subdivision, where now everyone has a piece of land that belongs to them. Growing up was different. The land belonged to all of us. Your livestock are free to roam around and graze anywhere with no qualm. Now, after subdivision of land, everyone has their own space where your neighbor livestock would not be allowed to come to your space. That started killing our nomadic way of life, but we are still pastoralists, and that is our bread and butter. That is what we are known for. That is what sustains us. A cow is something in Maasai that is so sacred. It means so much. It's our livelihood. It's a paycheck to you. That is a cow and a goat and a sheep in Maasai culture. It will never leave us. It's who we are.
I see. So that's a huge change in terms of way of life, from being nomadic to then having the division of land.
It is, because with private ownership of land, you have so many other interested parties that come in. Other communities that are looking for space because they have jobs or they are working. You find most of them are coming to buy land from us. We start selling our land slowly to non-Maasais. Now every person has their own title deed where I can choose, today Christy has come with 10 million shillings. That equates to 100 acres. Chop off 100 acres and sell it to Christy. Christy gets a title deed for 100 acres and Semerian remains with 400 acres. we are shrinking our land and we are still pastoralists. We don't have any other source of livelihood but the livestock that are not going to have enough space for grazing because you're selling the land. It started during colonial time. During colonial time, we were pushed as a community from the areas that we originally occupied, the Laikipias, the Naivasha and all that. Because Maasais always wanted to live amongst themselves, when the colonialists came and they saw all this prime, beautiful land, they had an interest in them. And as they settled there, the Maasai were pushed away to move further away from this prime land.
Okay. And the move from the nomadic lifestyle, where you move your livestock around depending on the seasons and the land, how has that changed now that you have your own title land?
That has changed a lot. In the morning, we would choose to go north, south, west, east, whichever way. Nobody would ask you. You would meet other kids with their livestock, whatever, and we'll all herd together. And in the evening, all come back home. Now, you have to be in the confinement of your fence. During the drought season, for instance, the last 3 years that we had really bad droughts, that's when nomadic lifestyle kicks in because it's a matter of life and death.
Yes.
We all have exhausted the pastures in our spaces. So the community moved to areas like the Chulu Hills because it is protected area. It's the government area. It's a park. You don't have a lot of livestock there. So they'll always have pasture. Now it becomes war between you and the government. It's now fighting between pastoralists and government because the pastoralists want this pasture for their livestock and the government is protecting this area because it's a national park. So we still have our nomadic way, especially during those hardship periods or the drought seasons. So that's how it's changed. It's not yours anymore. You must pay for it, ask for it, or if it's the government, be locked. They used to lock our workers every other day. There was someone in jail over encroachment of the park.
Wow, really? That's heartbreaking. Basically, the way of life and that communal nature has been taken away.
Completely.
Wow, that's really sad, isn't it?
Yes, it is taken away completely.
Okay. And you mentioned that the last 3 years have had really bad drought and flooding. And is the thought that that has been exacerbated because of climate change?
Absolutely. Oh, if I tell you, when we were young, Maasai predicted rainfalls. We knew every Easter, every April holiday when we close school, it will be raining. Every December when we are on Christmas break, it is raining. They can't predict anymore. And they were so good at prediction. They will know when a drought is going to come and they'll prepare themselves.
Wow, for people who really live off the land, to lose their ability to predict weather patterns, it must be absolutely devastating, alongside losing their right to freely roam their historical land. Have you noticed any other significant changes?
Wow, everything has changed, Christy. Absolutely everything has changed. For instance, the diet has changed completely. Before, the Maasais were known as beef or meat eaters and milk. That was our staple food. And we did that because that is what we had. We made our own cooking oil using beef tallow or ghee, milk. Now, because of all these challenges, we have lost our livestock. You can go to a homestead now and not find a single cow. That was unheard of when growing up.
Wow.
In fact, you were poor if you didn't have 100 cows. You were poor. You had homesteads that had thousands of cows, thousands of goats and sheep. When a woman was pregnant, they would slaughter for her and she would take soup and she would use the oil with everything she eats. They would make something called all product, which is a delicacy and very nutritious for a new mother or someone who is sick. You just take a spoon and it was like an antibiotic.
Wow.
You hardly see that happening now. We've lost that because of poverty. The droughts have swept away our livestock. To go to a homestead now and actually get even a goat to slaughter, it's not everywhere you can get that.
Okay.
That's because they've lost all their livestock. So diet has completely changed. We had a lot of medicinal knowledge. My grandmother was a midwife and traditional doctor for young kids. When growing up, we used to have many mothers lining up in her house, bringing their children for this challenge or the other. And she would just walk slowly, go out of the gate, go to the bush and come with these herbs and boil them and mix with milk and put in a gourd and give children. Or she'll boil others and wrap the baby. And she would do so many things. And it was normal, and the children will heal. They'll go back home, and there was no hospital. When they were pregnant, she would come and massage them, and she will tell you, you are X number of months pregnant. When they're about to give birth, they'll come and she will massage to turn the baby to face upside down now, ready for exit.
Mm-hmm.
We have lost that. I managed to meet one old lady about 2 years ago who was trained by my grandmother. I'm glad she's still alive, and I'm really looking to spend time and record her stories and also link her with the younger generations that are interested in learning that. And there's also even language. I speak Maasai, but I attended a meeting last week of Maasai CSOs, and there were older people in the meeting. They were speaking, and I was asking, what was that? What does that mean?
Oh, really?
We are losing it completely. It's not right. And that's why in our education program, we've recorded stories, riddles, folktales, and we use that for the young foundation level learners to listen to those stories. They're called engardening. They listen to the engardening, they learn the story behind it, and also they will start narrating and practicing and asking their parents when they go home, please tell me a story. So in our parental engagement sessions, we really emphasize that parents pick up the old tradition of telling your children these traditional stories in the evening before they go to bed, because that's what my grandmother used to do when she was alive. Would all be in her little heart, and she'll tell us stories. I have a few stories that I know that my younger sisters don't know about, because we had already lost that growing up. My older sister, myself, and my late sister who follows me, at least we got to experience that from my grandmother. So those are the things that we are sad that we've lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. That's a huge challenge for you, providing education programs that need to have the dual purpose of equipping people to survive and thrive in this new world, but also to preserve all the wonderful things about the Maasai culture.
It's a difficult balance.
Absolutely. There's one thing that I'm glad we've never lost is our greeting, how we greet the elders.
Oh, how do you do that?
You have to give your head. You bow and he touches your head. We've never lost it. It doesn't matter where you are. That is an unwritten rule. You bow and he touches your head. And that is anyone who is of your father's age and above, or anyone who you are related. For a woman, if you're related to someone, a man who is older than you, cousin, uncles, of course, we have clanism that is so strong. Clanism is not biological relation, but it is a lineage. Your clan mate is like your biological brother. So if he is older than you as a woman, you must give him your head. Also for mothers, for women, our mothers and above, you must give them your head.
Okay.
If you are below the age of circumcision, you give. Once you go through initiation, you qualify to be a man, so you become equal with the other men, so you start giving them your hand.
Okay. So when you're equal, you give your hand. But when you're showing respect to someone older, you give your head.
Your head, yes.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah. Maasai kiss a lot as well. Traditionally, if your family, your sisters, your mother, there's also the hugging and you kiss them.
Oh, that's lovely to hear. So for Maasai women, have their lives changed much given the huge lifestyle shifts that you've been describing? Are they better off in any circumstances?
Yes, a lot has changed. For Maasai women, as much as the lifestyle, I could say, was favorable to them because the husbands were wealthy, they had the livestock, they had everything. One thing that was good was the diet. They were eating well. As much as the culture was still very oppressive towards them, at least you didn't have to worry about food on the table.
Yes.
You didn't have to worry about clothing, for instance. Right now, it has changed for the worse.
Okay.
Because they are still marginalized, just as they used to be marginalized. That is a constant. Poverty levels now are high. So whatever small that is there belongs to the man. They still have nothing of their own.
Okay.
It's women struggling to look for things to do to put food on the table. Women never did anything like that when we were growing up. Their job, yes, they helped their husband in ensuring that the livestock are okay, but at least they didn't have to worry about bringing home food because there was food.
Yes.
So they have a heavy load now than they used to have, yet they are still not empowered in terms of financial empowerment. It's still very patriarchal.
So they've got more work, more burden, but less food and the same level of marginalization.
Exactly. More responsibilities, but still being marginalized.
Yeah, these kind of extra worries. I know you said you came from a family of 10 siblings. Are the women still generally having many, many children?
Not as many as our mothers. It has changed. And what has changed is education, because our generation was the first generation of education in their families, but they never completed school due to early marriages or forced marriage, others teen pregnancy that leads to marriage. So some of these mothers, they went up to class 5, class 6 and dropped out of school. They are aware of the challenge of having many children with what is happening in the community now, poverty levels being higher than they used to be. As much as they do not condone family planning, but at least they are not having 10 plus children like my mother generation.
Sure. Okay. And are they still having children very, very early?
Yeah, unfortunately, we still have that struggle, and that's why we have the sexual and reproductive health education program for girls in school, because we are still losing them. It pains me. We are still losing young girls through getting pregnant in school, in primary school especially.
Goodness.
Yes, I have 2 that are pregnant the second time.
How old are they?
One is 15 and the other one is 14.
Goodness me.
Oh, my goodness.
You said that they are not believers in contraception, or they're not for contraception. In our culture, it usually comes from the Catholic Church. What is it in the Maasai?
For us, it's not even the Catholic Church because we are more Presbyterian. It's just a cultural thing because, again, I say men are the decision makers.
Right.
So they even make decision over your body.
Yeah.
And I remember so well growing up, and you hear on a market day Friday and she's been seen near a doctor, they would say, oh, that's why she's not giving birth. She's taking the pill for not giving birth. And she would be beaten by the husband when she gets back home.
Really?
Because he wants more children.
Yes. As we speak right now, in every meeting that we have, when an opportunity arises and these older people speak, they'll say, can you give birth? Can you stop listening to those that are telling you not to give birth? Give birth. There is no harm in having many children. There is no child that doesn't come with their blessing. And as much as I love children, children are a blessing and children are good, I don't believe in bringing children to this world and getting them to suffer. I have an argument with a lot of people, including my own father, because I say, yes, you are telling people, give birth, but times have changed. There's nothing for free now. I have uncles that have 3 wives. They have so many children that you go to his home. It looks like a nursery school. And if you look at those poor kids, we have to look for clothes and all that to bring every time for the kids to dress up. We are permanently trying to help them, school fees here and there, books here and there. Why would you want your children to go through that? Unless you want to give birth and you just leave them to be herders, take care of the livestock and not have anything else to look up to. But times have changed. We are not in the 60s anymore. We're in the 21st century. Without an education, where are these children going to go? Even these public schools, it's not free. It is not free. As much as they say free education, it is not absolutely free.
Mm.
And they cannot even afford that little for public school. What about tomorrow when they go to high school? So the family planning is a topic that is very sensitive. It's a topic that they don't want to hear about it. Both men and female, they're the same.
Yes.
But it's a topic that we have to talk about because we cannot continue like this.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that we have some ladies who are leaders in the community. They started approaching us and saying, you know what, how do we approach this? I had a meeting with one of our chiefs when we had 2 of these girls get pregnant the second time. And said, Semerian, I totally agree that we now need to have this conversation on family planning. We cannot continue to assume that it's not going to happen and we are losing girls every time.
Yes.
As much as we want to look holy or to look right, we are not. Because by the time you're getting pregnant at 12 years old, what does that tell you really? And because culture does not allow women to talk to their children about certain topics, that's why we shut our eyes. Oh, they are still children. Oh, it's not going to happen. But it's happening. It's happening. And another big problem we have, how do we know that they are even safe from sexually transmitted diseases?
Yeah.
Because pregnancy is only one thing. We still have HIV and AIDS and many others. That's why our sexual and reproductive health education, we have to talk to them about it. So at least we ensure that they are aware of the dangers of having unprotected sex.
Yeah.
Okay, you can have a child, no big deal. What about if you get HIV at 12 years old?
Yeah, absolutely. Is there still the traditional culture that girls would get married very early, or is it just that they're still having sexual intercourse early and so becoming pregnant?
I must applaud the men for really working hard to try and not marry off their daughters. That is one challenge that at least we have seen improve. As much as we are not where we need to be as a community in regard to girls' education, at least the men are educating their daughters now.
Wow, okay. So that's a very promising step that men are now at least educating their daughters. But young girls are still getting pregnant in high numbers, is that right?
Yes. And why are they having this sexual intercourse early in life? Because our culture, we pretend things don't happen, yet they happen.
Yeah.
We encourage the mothers to start having this conversation at household level. Talk to your children. And they are really trying now. At least they are trying now. But as we say again, poverty is the devil of everything. Because the people that are impregnating these young girls, you find they are young boys who are motorbike riders because they are liquid. They always have money. I give you 500 shillings, you go make your hair. So they are getting into these small relationships. Some of them want to get off this hardship life. I'm seeing this guy, maybe he's in high school or he's finished high school. He has his motorbike. He has a small, nice house. I'm like, I would want to get married there because I do not want to end up like my mom. There's a lot of mentorship that needs to happen. These girls need to have mentors. They need to have people to look up to. That if only I could persevere and work hard, hold on to being a child and finish school, I'll be something to someone tomorrow and I'll have an opportunity to even get a better husband, if at all I'll need a husband, or even get out of this environment that I was born in. I really don't want to be in it again. They lack mentorship. They lack people to look up to. And that's why we work with rural schools, because the gap exists in rural areas. The sad part of it is these girls will get pregnant and the boy will disappear. So who is left with the load?
Yeah.
Her family. Her family that is struggling so much to educate her. You are giving them another load of a child. We have a return to school program where we follow them up. We talk to the parents. And after 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding, we return the girl to school.
Okay, and will they take their babies with them?
No, after 6 months, they will leave the baby with their mother. So at least most of their parents are agreeing to take care of the child. We have had a few that say, no, I have worked so hard. I have sold all my goods to educate her. I don't have anything else now. I cannot start taking care of her child. Let her stay home. She will get a husband. And, we have those cases.
Yes.
But the successful ones that we've had, I always say, even if it's 1 out of 10, that is one family that you've helped. So we have a few girls that we've returned to school, gotten scholarships for them, and they've continued to high school and finished, and they've done well.
Brilliant.
These particular two that I'm talking about that gave birth in 2022, they're in our scholarship program. When they closed school in August, they were pregnant again. We had a meeting with the parents and they really apologized. We are still going to keep them because if we let them go, they'll get married. But you imagine those parents now have 2 children from this child because they are still children as well.
Yeah. You've built a very good case for family planning education.
Yeah, we just have to accept that educating them or asking them to abstain is not working.
Right. So it's not just about getting girls into school or simply saying don't have sex, like that ever works in any culture. It's about breaking the cultural taboo that prevents parents from having real conversations with their kids about the risks of unprotected sex. There's a very real chance that they could become pregnant, and it's important to understand what that means for a girl who's trying to build a future. And then there's the issue of STDs and HIV too, of course. So once those communication channels are opened up, families can actually educate their kids, both girls and boys, on what sex really means.
Exactly.
Okay, so support with family planning, access and education is just one of the ways that you support Maasai women and girls. You've told us that there's always been a strong patriarchal culture where men make all of the decisions, but now women also face poverty and extra responsibility on top of their marginalisation. And then they're having so many children, and it's just a lot to deal with for any woman. So you also provide a pathway to employment and economic empowerment for Maasai women, and you do this by supplying them with goats because they are already expert herders. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you want to talk to us a little bit about goats?
Basically, all our programs are interlinked and we exist to break the cycle of poverty. The children that are in our education program now, I know their grandmothers. I went to school with them, but they dropped out of school. And their daughters dropped out of school. And now their grandchildren are the ones that are dropping out of school. Something has to stop. And these women now, you imagine those 3 generations of women still desperate of hope without anything that they can call their own. You wake up in the morning and you know your responsibility is to look after your children or your family and the livestock. So you wake up, prepare your children to go to school. After that, you get your donkeys, go fetch water, X number of kilometers. You come back. You need to fetch firewood. You need to prep food for your children. You need to make sure that the livestock are okay because maybe the kids are in school, so there's no one to take care of them but you. What time does this woman have to build herself or to do something meaningful beside household chores that are never compensated? And we will never finish them, Christy. We will never finish them.
Yes.
I hear you.
So our livelihood program came up because there's a big gap that exists now. Poverty levels are high. We've lost our livelihood. I don't have livestock and I don't have a skill that I can go out there to look for some job or to generate some income. We came up with the Sustainable Livelihood Program so that one, we train women on a skill that can generate some income for them. Second, use their existing skills and knowledge to give them something that they can own and manage. And with that, also support them in financial literacies. For instance, the goat rearing program, they have the skill to take care of this. That is an inborn thing. We are pastoralists and they have the land. All they need is, how do we take care of this herd of goats and ensure that we scale it up? How do we grow it and start businesses from this seed? We are just planting the seed for them to thrive. And we have seen what it does. Goats multiply so fast. You give them 15. In a year's time, they'll have double that number. They can start selling and upscaling to buy cows. They can buy cows, they fatten them, and they sell them. One, they sell them, they can invest in building on a property. Or they can sell them and choose to buy a different breed of goats or sheep.
Great.
That is their own. They are not asking their husband, when should we sell? What do we do with this money? This is the women that sit and decide, this is ours, we are selling at this time. This is what we are doing with the money. Because one thing they never have a voice in any decision making when it comes to management of resources in the family. Only the men decide.
So how do the men respond when the women are given a goat herd to manage?
Fortunately now, they are so in sync with the women because they've seen what women do when women have something. They are seeing women are taking the load off their back when they are empowered.
Yeah.
They are very supportive. Even when we deliver, every time we have a delivery, we have more men coming. Their husbands will come. Those who are widows will have their sons. You'll always have a chief. You'll always have a pastor. There are always more men than even women.
So they're on board.
They are so much on board and they have promised us that they will help them take care of them.
Oh, good.
Because they know the women invest in their families. Everything a woman has is invested back to the family.
Yes.
And it's an absolutely good program, Christy, that has brought so much. The last one we did in July, oh my God, the challenge now is we need to look for more goats.
Yes.
Yes, more goats. So when women have their herd and are starting to bring in money and they're bringing in more food and milk for the family, does that then give them more decision-making power? Does it make them able to claim their rights to say, I don't want any more children, or to say, our daughter should go on the pill, for instance?
Yes, absolutely, Christy. Absolutely. Now they can afford whatever they choose to do with the investment. They can borrow money and build their businesses. It's creating them income. She can afford to go to a hospital, talk to a doctor, bring whatever she's bringing to her daughter, even without the knowledge of the husband. But if she didn't have that, how would she do that? Yet she has to ask the husband for money to do A, B, C, D.
Yes.
You know, as a mother-daughter, you have mother-daughter talk. You can agree between yourselves. You know what I mean? Because only you understand where this girl is at, because you are the woman. The man will not understand. We are putting the resources in their hands so they can make decisions, not just for themselves, but for their families as well and their children.
Wonderful.
Financial inclusion. There is nothing as powerful as every woman having that financial freedom.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you can really see how you're creating generational change when the mother has control of the resources and then she's able to take her daughter to the doctor or buy the pill or whatever it is to help manage her sexual reproduction.
Exactly. And also there's Maasai women have untapped potential. Us giving this financial freedom, we are fostering this community development by harnessing this untapped potential. They are agents of change, and that could be at household level, at community level, at all levels.
So true.
Women are powerful. They are resilient. You find a woman who has given birth more than 10 times. She still walks 10 kilometers to go fetch water. She still has energy to take care of grandchildren. Maasai women are resilient. They will leave home at 5 a.m. to walk to a farm that's over 10 kilometers, and they'll be harvesting tomatoes the whole day. And in the evening, go back home and attend to their families. And tomorrow, that child will go to school with some money that was needed yesterday in school.
Oh, I love it.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Semerian, for teaching us about the Maasai culture and the beautiful ways that Maasai have lived over centuries and are continuing to preserve their culture even despite such huge challenges, and for the incredible work you're doing to make sure that girls get control over their own bodies and they're able to decide themselves what kind of families they have, whether they have children or not, what kind of livelihoods they want to embark on, to get an education, and all the things that you're doing to make sure that people are healthy and happy as the changes continue with the climate and the economy. So thank you so much for a deep and informative conversation. We've really enjoyed going into these discussions with you.
Thank you, Christy. It was really lovely having this chat and just for me reflecting back on my formative years and the beauty that was. Also hope is important, and still hoping that as even we move to these uncertain times that we will preserve the beautiful culture that is of Maasai and ensure that our children get quality education so that they can be leaders of tomorrow.
Oh, beautiful. Love that, Semerian. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And we are really looking forward to coming to visit you soon.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Joe. I look forward to you coming in. I will show you the beautiful savannah that we grew up in. It's still as beautiful as much as climate change is hitting us, but we still have Mount Kilimanjaro as our good morning every day. And we have our vibrant women who are so positive and so full of life despite the challenges that they are going through. You absolutely love spending time with them. I look forward to that.
This has been such a beautiful conversation.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
For anyone listening in who's interested to learn more or support Semerian's vision, you can visit justpeoples.org/leaders/Semerian. You can find these details in the show notes.
And to give you an idea of how you can support Semerian in empowering more Maasai women, with around $2,000 USD, Semerian can supply 20 goats to a group of 20 Maasai women. This will allow the women to establish a herd that they can raise and breed, helping them to achieve economic independence.
And do we bow our heads to women who are older?
We're too old for that, Jo.
Oh, yeah, we're too old. Will everyone bow at us?
No. You will not bow. No, you will not bow your heads.
Well, you just let us know what to do, because Christy and I travel and visit different cultures quite often, and we're always making gaff.
We're bumbling foreigners wherever we go.
Why Give a Buck is proudly brought to you by Just Peoples, an international non-profit that connects givers directly with local leaders at the forefront of tackling poverty in their local communities across Africa and Asia. You can learn more and directly support the work of Semerian and other inspiring leaders by visiting justpeoples.org.